What is the mandatory protocol during these GLP-1 drugs?
Fill your gaps. You've got to strength train, and you've got to fill all the gaps that drug is going to cause. It's going to cause massive nutrition gaps, and those nutrition gaps are going to torture your infrastructure. So you make sure when you go on this drug that you are taking your nutrition solution along with it. And if your doctor doesn't give it to you that way, you should find another medical professional that is qualified. Because in my opinion, that's quackery. Give yourself a drug and not give them the other side of the equation that will make that drug work that much better.
All right, welcome back for another episode of SuppBeast. As always, your host Zane Spruce, nutrition and fitness expert Neal Spruce, and today we're going to be talking about GLP-1s. So Ozempic, Wegovy, etc. Not so much from a medical standpoint, but from a diet and nutrition standpoint. That way you're ensured to have the most successful weight loss journey possible while taking these GLP-1 drugs.
Well, first of all, one of the things that everyone needs to make peace with, and I have to do this with our, we have a couple thousand facilities out there that we do all the nutrition programming for them, all our practitioners out there. This is something you have to make peace with because this is definitely the GLP drugs, GLP-1 RAs and all the ones in the 2s and the 3s and all the ones that are coming out. They're game changers, without a doubt. No one has ever, listen, and you know me, everyone that's ever followed me, you know that I'm anti-Big Pharma to a certain extent, except when they're right, when it has to be done and all this. I'm always lifestyle first. Nutrition, exercise, and you never need one of these things, for most people anyway. But the point is that it's that lifestyle and behavior aspects and teaching people those things, they only work for people that are motivated. This drug is a game changer. And many years ago, Zane, I said this in my seminars. This goes back in the 80s. And you can actually find it on old VHS that someone taped something that I said, was the fact that whoever conquers the ability to control the human appetite will win the game. Because obesity was going crazy in the 70s and 80s, going just hockey stick growth. And it's all about appetite. You just can't control it because food's all around you. You don't move that much anymore because you make a living sitting at a desk. All these factors are coming in and getting everybody fat. And that has not changed. We have not reversed the trajectory of overweight and obesity yet. So nothing's worked. We've done everything. We know what works, obviously, from a diet and exercise standpoint. But it's just not working for the majority of the population. It only works for people like you and I that grow up in that environment. You make a living that way, and we're motivated and all that for whatever reasons. So this is the first thing that has ever come across. All the other weight loss drugs were pretty garbage. They minuscule. We could do way more controlling weight loss with like meal replacement therapy and all that kind of stuff, which was all nutritionally related, right? But this is a game changer. These things are real. They work because they found a way. They found a way to shut the appetite down. In other words, in simple terms, it's voluntary caloric reduction, not involuntary. Well, I got to tell you, you got to eat this much or you can't lose body fat. People just can't eat that much because it's just, in fact, they've really struggled with it all.
So diet and nutrition is your field of expertise. What is your experience working with people on weight loss drugs?
Well, we have lots of it now since the new weight loss drugs have come out. But also, we work with many doctor organizations. I will actually do lectures on the nutritional and behavioral aspects of weight loss because no one, and that's not even arguable, no one works with more clients and populations than we do, all our practitioners globally. We're 2,000 facilities and 70% of the goals are body fat reduction, and we give them all the nutrition and weight loss programs to get that done, right? So working with doctors will send people to us. They put them on weight loss drugs, they send them to us to be able to keep them from losing all the muscle they're generally going to lose if they don't work out and if they don't get enough protein, don't fill the micronutrient gaps and so forth. So I end up doing lectures, for doctor groups. They can actually get CECs for them, back in the day on a regular basis, especially when, some of these drugs first started coming out, like they thought they discovered the greatest thing in the world, the leptin drugs. And so I lectured to all the docs that actually discovered, all that, be able to cut people's appetite by leptin. But then it turned out the leptin receptors, if they're bad, then nothing works. So that, but it's all about lifestyle to be able to get off the drug eventually, or, how do you marry the two? Because you've got to marry the two if you want the greater outcome. So it's all about getting the greater outcome, combining the two. Right. And on that note, all the listeners out there, you guys know that, I struggle with Big Pharma a lot because it's just everything's about a drug. Well, this is the easiest solution in the world on the nutrition side. This will be the first time I've ever seen Big Pharma and nutrition, the nutrition side, behavior, lifestyle side come together for the greatest outcome possible.
The reason why you kind of get involved in weight loss drugs, right, is because that is that joining aspect of Big Pharma, right, where it's like these doctors don't always necessarily have the best nutrition sense, right, when it comes to not
and they admit it.
I know. It's just not their
job.
It's not their expertise.
It's not their vocation. That's what they do.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So that's where you kind of come in.
They farm them out to us.
Yeah, that's where you come in.
They farm them out to our dietitians,
equation,
our practitioners, our people in the gym, our trainers that have in their scope of practice, they have this little minor nutrition thing they can deliver to people. So that's how. But
you also have to have a fair understanding of these.
Well, I have a better understanding of the outcome because I'm on the bottom. I am literally boots on the ground.
Yeah.
I live in the trenches with these people that are trying to lose weight following programs and all these different things. So, yeah, without a doubt,
But you also have to have an understing of the weight loss drug as well.
Absolutely.
So
I might even understand the drugs a little better than doctors do, just as a quip. It's a quip.
Right, because it does play on the nutrition and lifestyle
You need to know that. I mean, for me, everybody knows this, that follows us. We know that, listen, my whole thing is mechanisms of action, how these things work, so I can understand what we do nutritionally, from a nutritional standpoint to offset anything that might affect the feedback loop in your body. Because shut one thing down, your body counters it with something else, and you got to be able to make sure you do that from a nutritional standpoint. But, again, it really is the marriage. I think this is the first time ever that you'll see there's a marriage between pharma and nutrition now. Because, obviously, pharma just wants to sell drugs. We get that. Okay, but this is one that's a game changer. This is one that is really, truly a game for when it comes to weight control. Because every drug that's ever come out for weight control is all bullshit. They just don't work nearly as well as anything else you could do, just from cutting your calories, filling your gaps, and moving a little bit more. So and then making meal replacements. That's completely natural, right? Using those programs are way better than the drugs. This is the first one that is substantial. But there's a serious risk that goes with it if you don't counter the other side.
That's a good segue. Let's get into the meat of the episode. Start with a quick overview of kind of how these drugs work and the side effects and how you can combat that with proper health and nutrition or diet and nutrition. So how do weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy work?
I'll make this really easy for everybody. It cuts your appetite that you have not been able to control. So what it does, we have tons of fullness hormones that are released when you eat food. At some point, you got to stop, right? So all humans stop eating because they produce these hormones. Once food comes in, you start digesting it. Signals go to all these receptors in your body, and they say, "Okay, slow down. You don't need to eat anymore. You're done." So you sit back and you're full, right? Okay, well, that's what these do. These mimic those hormones, and the glucagon-like peptide receptor agonists, right? GLP-1s. That's what they mimic. They mimic the hormone we produce. They mimic that hormone, so that now, and this is where it really gets easy for people to understand. Normally, your body, when you eat, you're not on the drug. You release that hormone, the GLP. You release it, and it says stop eating. It's released in the stomach and in the brain. Now, we used to think when you looked early on back in 2005, these things were developed for diabetes, by the way, originally. It took a long time before it got into the weight loss world. So what you end up seeing that people are losing weight like crazy when they first started using it. So the difference is this. When you eat right now, so we eat a meal right now, that GLP, the natural GLP in our body, is released, and it lasts we call it half-life, the half-life of that molecule. half-life means that when it gets, its half-life is like 5 minutes. After that, it's really no longer effective. So I want everybody to remember that. So think about that. You eat, that half-life is about 5 minutes effective, but it tells you to stop eating. You're full, you got the message to your brain. Well, we used to think it was only the stomach. It just slowed, that GLP just slows things, there's stomach transit. But no, there's actually more released in the brain. The brain now releases it, again, for the sake, 3 to 5 minutes is the half-life. It's effective. So then, are you ready for this? This was like eye-opening for me when I studied it, about 10 years ago. I look at it and I'm looking at all the studies and I'm watching everything that's happening here. Well, the half-life in the brain is the drug is normally without the drug, it's released 30 minutes later. So it's released while you're eating, right after you eat or right when you're eating, it starts releasing it. The half-life of it, like I said, is 3 to 5 minutes. And then it has another shot 30 minutes later. When I was a bodybuilder, we used to, I would lecture, this started in the 70s, I go, listen, if you can set a timer next to you, put a clock right next to you and set your alarm, because we were starving to death. We finish a meal, all we want to do is keep eating because we're dieting for a competition and you're just out of your head hunger, but you got to do it, right? So just wait 30 minutes and you're not nearly as hungry. I didn't know that GLP, I knew what GLP was back then. We never even thought about it. We weren't scientists. This was the reality. And so when I was reading all the studies about it about 10 years ago and more recently even, it talks about 30 minutes after there's another natural GLP release, and that tells you to shut down. Now that's natural. Mm-hmm. Now what does the drug do? Now remember, how long did I say the half-life was?
5 minutes.
Okay. So both half-lives are 5 minutes, the initial one and the 30-minute later one after eating, 5 minutes. Well, guess how long the half-life of the drug is? See, when you make a drug, what they do is they tweak the molecule just enough to where the normal thing that breaks down your natural production, which is an enzyme, it doesn't recognize it. That stays in there for like 175 hours.
Oh, wow.
Half-life. So you get it?
Yeah.
So it means, that's why,
hungry.
exactly. And in your brain, the same thing. Yeah. So that's why it's a weekly injection. Orals, by the way, the new orals are coming out right now. They're probably better than the old ones. We got to survive that digestive tract. It's very difficult. But that's why the injections are once a week. The half-life wears off at a week rather than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you get it now? The side effects, the sickness, the stomach ache. It's like you can't eat. Yeah. You start turning off to all kinds of foods. But anyway, so that's how they work, everybody.
Yeah. Well,
there it is. Long half-life of a drug you naturally produce to tell you to stop eating.
Quick overview of this. Yeah. What is the difference between Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro?
Wegovy and Ozempic are the same. They're a semaglutide. The other one's a tirzepatide, which is they actually have another bullet in the gun. So you've got your first one we talk about, the GLP-RAs or GLP-1s. There's a GIP, and that's a glucose. Let me get this right. Glucose insulotropic polypeptide. So that's another hormone, hunger that tells you to stop eating. The more, because don't forget, you've got redundancy. If there was just one hormone that told you to stop eating, and there was some defect in it in a human, you would just stare at food and die of starvation.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have redundancy and all that, and that's another one, GIP, and there's another one, Retatrutide is the new one coming out. It's going to have 4 bullets in the gun.
Jeez.
Yeah, so they're just going to keep attacking this. That's why this is a big deal in science right now. And it's the first time I've ever got along with Big Pharma on stuff from here, because we've done everything, and we just can't stop this hockey stick of fatness. We kind of plateaued a little bit because you get to a point, a certain point, but it's, except for the younger population, that's, they're getting fatter faster than ever. So this is something that, apparently we have to do it. Now, me, I'm never going to tell anybody to do it until they can't do anything else. Yeah. And then it gets to the point. So we'll get to that question later. But anyways, You get it? That's how it works. And we're getting stronger, and the more and more of these drugs are coming out. So you got your Wegovy, your semaglutide, you've got your tirzepatide, and then it's going to keep going and going. Quadrupatide.
All right, so let's get into the side effects of it all. So
yeah.
I guess the common ones, right? What are the common side effects of these GLP-1s?
Well, the first one
for weight loss.
Let's call it unique side effects of these drugs, okay? Because that's a little bit different. Weight loss itself, they're all the same side effects. You're going to lose muscle.
Yeah.
So everybody write that down. I just said that. Everyone from conventional weight loss, if you don't, fill your gaps, get enough protein, you're going to lose more, just not as much muscle, but you're going to lose muscle and fat together, right? Maybe a little more fat depending on how deep the deficit is. Now, with these drugs, it's the same thing. It's just accelerated.
Yeah.
So if you're going to lose 25% of your body weight in fat, in muscle, and the rest in fat, with the drugs, you're going to lose like a 40-60 split.
Yeah.
40 muscle. And we've seen up to 50% losses with this. And for the simple reason the deficit is bigger.
Yeah.
And you're turned off to good foods. You can't even eat can't eat the protein you eat, most people, right? That's the hidden side effect. The first one is nausea. That's the first one. Like 20%, it's literally up to 20% of people cannot use the drug. They'll start it and then they end up going, I'm not putting up with this. It's too much. Now, like I said, obviously 80% get over that. Everyone's going to have some nausea in the beginning.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you got a half-life of 165 hours or whatever versus 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So you can only imagine what that's like. And you're turned off to certain foods. A bigger part. Remember I said we've just discovered recently it's being released in the brain, not just the gut. In the brain, it shuts off your reward center. That's why you're seeing drug addicts using it now, to shut off their reward center. Yeah. Okay, they're using it to try to help them get over and stop having to do that. So these people that can't stop eating, that eat way too much, no matter how much, they just think they can't discipline themselves and everything else. What they have to do is we have all these receptors, and food, our comfort foods, hit kind of our opioid receptors to make us feel good or whatever. Well, then after a while, we become desensitized. We have to higher and higher. We have to have more sweetness, more fat, more this, more calories to be able to get satisfied. This shuts off that center. So it really changes your relationship with food. So that's the main side effect, obviously, is nausea. There's some other ones that, where your stomach kind of freezes up and you can't move your bowel, your feces through your body. Really, there's difficulties in that. But this is that's the major one, is the nausea, and getting over that is what it's come down. And then the loss of appetite. Like I said, this is all voluntary. You're not eating. I've seen deficits, Zane, as big as 35% from your maintenance without you trying to do it.
Yeah.
Because you just can't. So you can see these things are powerful. But all that does is accelerate the main side effect that's easily preventable. And that, of course, is the loss of muscle and bone and organ weight. That's the major side effect, in my opinion.
So, like, those are...
You can get over being sick.
Right, yeah. Those are like the kind of... I guess that would be less of a side effect, right? More of a pitfall, right? Is that you're so...
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a side effect.
Your lack of hunger is...
Yeah.
It's quite literally just almost the opposite of like eating too much. Your lack of hunger is now going to make you potentially unhealthy, right? Because you had a compromised infrastructure to begin with, and now you're not going to eat proper nutrition because you're nauseous or you're not hungry at all, and then whatnot. But is there long-term health effects or like health risk with taking a drug,
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it is open, but you got to remember, these drugs have been around since 2005. And we don't I don't see any. Listen, I mean, there may be a group of doctors out there that would disagree with me. I'm not a doctor, of course, but I don't see that except in people, the major side effects. You can't afford it any longer. If you can't afford it, you go off it and you gain the weight back. Yeah. It's almost it's no different in quitting a diet. 85% of people, 80% of the people gain it back within the first year. There's exact same numbers on this stuff too if you stop the drug. So yeah, I mean, we don't know if you can you live on it? Will it shorten your life? No one's done the math on that, right? Or will it extend your life? Because generally, if you're using it, it's probably saving your life because you've got comorbidities that are going along with being obese. And if this is the only thing that's going to get you down from being obese, you're going to die of obesity from all the other factors, right? From the MASH, your metabolic dysfunction, all the other things that go along with it, high triglycerides, cholesterol, calcification of your cardiovascular system. You're going to die of all that. So if this can because you've tried and failed 5 times dieting, so if this can save you from that, then you can extend your normal life as opposed to dying earlier with that. So it really is a decision for everyone. We don't know for weight loss, long-term effects. I mean, I would argue in the big picture, it's going to be better to use the drug with the majority of the population that are overweight, obviously, and can't do it from diet and exercise. It'll actually extend their life rather than shorten their life.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those reasons I just mentioned, though.
Right. And so you kind of just said the longevity of taking it.
Yeah.
For the majority of the people taking these GLPs, are they sort of a prisoner to taking this for the rest of their lives? To not regain weight?
Yes. For the majority of them. The people that are prisoners of using this drug for the rest of their life are the people that really, truly could not. I didn't mean they couldn't. I'm just saying, or can't, but could not do it any other way. In other words, they just kept gaining weight. They would lose weight, gain weight. And don't forget, when you lose weight and you lose muscle and fat, almost all the weight you gain back is fat. You might gain a little bit of the muscle. Now you're really screwed. Yeah. You are doubly screwed.
Right.
And we call that weight cycling. So that's why staying on the drug is probably what they need to do, because they're just, if they went off it, unless, that's my job, by the way, in our gyms right now, in our, obviously hundreds and thousands of gyms that we're involved in and practitioners, that's our job, is when we know someone's on it and we find that out, or they're telling us, because we'll always ask, anything that we should know so we change your workout or anything else here? Yeah, I'm taking the weight loss medication. Okay. So now we got to make sure that they're filling their gaps so they don't lose the muscle that they're going to lose. It's not just about strength exercise. You better have enough protein. You better take care of your micronutrients that you're missing because your appetite, you're just not eating these foods. So that's when you get into that place where that's what I call like a potential off-ramp. So those people might be savable because they're in the gym. They've already made the commitment to work. I didn't drag them in there. They joined. Yeah. Okay. And then when we find out their goal is weight loss and they might be on medications, then we can give them the right nutrition recommendation to help them get off the drug. That's our job in this big picture right now.
So
doesn't mean it's going to work.
Some people, but for sure, well, is it some or majority will be a prisoner to this?
I think of the true, good question. Of the true recipients of this drug, in other words, they qualified based on obesity and comorbidities that went along with it. Because don't forget, only I think Wegovy and Ozempic are the ones that are approved for weight loss. Now, I think turns out Mounjaro will be eventually. I mean, they're right around the corner if it's not already now. The rest of them will. They're all diabetic drugs first, but now they're finally approved for weight loss. But insurance doesn't cover it, so most people, for majority of people, so people can't afford to stay on it forever. And they go off it, and we've already seen the stats. Most people that go off it will gain it back. I mean, we know that's going to happen.
Yeah, and then do you see, I guess, these GLP-1s like leading to any sort of like eating disorders or anything like that?
No different than any diet would. I think there's enough evidence around the use of them now and the people that have used it that you're always going to have that small percentage of people that once they start dieting, they have a difficult relationship with food and it can start to leading to eating disorder. That's a small number. So I don't see this causing it. Those people were going to have it regardless when it came to a diet. So I don't see that. I don't see that happening.
All right. So, I mean, would you say that kind of covers everything for like the side effects and the pitfalls? Or
well, I think the most important thing is, if you're using it, it is really, and what my job is literally in society today is to get along with the fact that these drugs are here to stay because we lived in this built environment that doesn't allow us to be lean unless we make a living being lean, right? Or for some reason we grew up with an environment like our house, right? Where you make a living as an athlete or, whatever. And so now you're just sort of addicted to fitness. Yeah. Our job is to figure out a way to get, this drug is a good starting place for people that just can't live that lifestyle
Yeah.
of staying lean. So for me, it's all about preventing the muscle loss and making sure that you've got all the micronutrients, because you're not going to get it when you're on the drug if you're just eating. Not going to happen. And we already know that 40% of your weight loss is muscle. If you gain it back, and most of it's going to be fat, you're now what we call sarcopenic obesity in an early age. Age-related muscle loss is sarcopenia, but you're got it at an early age because you're cycling, and when you gain it back, your bones are weak, your organs are not functioning properly because of all those problems. So if we can get people strong and want to work out, so in other words, when you start the drug, and I try to do this when I do my doctor lectures, I go, you got to start them out. In fact, I would argue it's almost malpractice if you don't tell them. You've got to get 1 gram per pound of lean body mass of protein daily and fill in your micronutrient blank. So take it, all
so
that.
let's just get down that course for the rest of this now, okay? Because I think we laid down the groundwork
for the side effects.
Yeah, of side effects and what you could possibly be going through and the potential pitfalls of this. Let's start, down the course here of what you can do from a nutrition, diet, exercise standpoint to combat all of that and hopefully have the most successful weight loss journey you could possibly have, where it seemingly wipes out any of the potential negative effects of these drugs. So what are you doing what is sort of the mandatory protocol during these GLP-1 drugs?
Got it. Mandatory protocol from a nutrition standpoint.
Yes.
Okay. And we'll get to the strength training after that.
Yeah.
The nutrition standpoint is getting enough protein. So you always start there, because that's the first thing you've got to deal with, right? You can't live without it, and you live pretty shitty when you don't get enough of it, because you just don't have enough to support your muscle, your bones, all the other different things that obviously we use protein, thousands of proteins in our body. So you get enough of that. And that 1 gram per pound of lean body mass daily, and if you're not really grossly overweight, and I don't care if it's a whole gram per pound of weight, and split it up throughout the day. Always break your fast in the morning with protein. You definitely want to do that, and just move on through the day. So that's number 1. You get that done. Now you're eating whatever else you can possibly eat. And we know that people just don't eat fiber. They don't get that when they're on the drug because that makes them throw up and makes them feel really lousy. So I always tell people that, one of the things you want to do is get a protein powder and mix some fiber. I mean, you can put fiber in that. It's already broken up, so it's already pre-digested by the time you shake, by the time you put it into a blender. You're getting all the good stuff from the fiber still. So you got a protein shake with fiber. And that way you've got that. And then, again, and of course you're taking a complete multivitamin, which has the 20 known underconsumed vitamins and minerals, that are in there. Now that is baseline. You're in a really good shape right there. You're probably still not going to get enough fruits and vegetables.
So your protein, but you need a protein powder, are you saying?
I don't think they can get it from protein in foods. Yeah. A gram per pound, let's say you weigh 250 and your lean body mass is 180. You want to do the math on that in a grocery store?
Well, there's that, but
you got to hire a cook
if you're not hungry, though, right? It's going to be hard to get.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So in other words, you're going to have to think about making those meals. Think about buying it, but a protein powder is just a great way to get 50 grams of protein in one shot. And now it's easier to get the rest of your protein from whatever your traditional foods may be. But the better part of the protein powder is the delivery system for fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
You can get a smoothie, because I know you're not going to get them. I watched that. We actually have a super blend that's got all the, it's got 2 servings of vegetables. It's got all kinds of other stuff, prebiotics, probiotics, and it's got your multivitamin in it and other antioxidants. So we use that. That's our GLP solution in our world. Yeah. We have that. So it's got all your micronutrients, including other phytochemicals, antioxidants. And then you've got, you got some flaxseed omega-3s because we had to keep it all vegan. A prebiotic, probiotic, and then we have actually put a blend of herbs in it to control your stress. But anyway, you take that, now you're covered micronutrient-wise, and then you throw that in a protein powder, and you've got pretty much a whole day of your nutrition's in there. Now the rest of your food that you're eating will be trickling in and coming in as well. But you've just fortified your day's meals with that. And that's what we make everybody do. Now, that's what makes people want to be active. If you didn't do that and just went on the drug and you weren't already active, you don't want to be active. You're miserable. You're living a miserable life. And you're getting more miserable as you get weaker. Other than the fact that you're losing weight and you might feel a little better as far as the fact that you've lost some weight.
In the beginning.
But you're in the beginning. Yeah, but you're going to pay the price later on. That's for sure. So anyway, that's what we do. That's how we offset it. That's simple.
So it's just 1 gram per pound of lean body mass.
Well,
and then
depending on how big your deficit, you can go more than that.
Or you can go more, right? I mean, are you tracking calories when you're on these GLP-1 drugs?
You know what? I mean, some people probably do because you might not control your appetite that well. I mean, what's going to track your calories, Zane? I tell this to everybody. I'm an audience of 1,000 people out there. I'm on Zoom, or I'll have them in an audience in the old days. And I'll go, you know what tracks your calories? Your body composition. I go, just look at yourself in the mirror. If you're expanding, you're an adult, and you're expanding your belt 1 notch, you're probably eating more calories than you burn. Now, if you want to bring it back down, bring it down. I mean, then you just got to get back to the other notch. You got to drop the calories. So what I'm saying, yes, you do. Ideally, I want everybody to track their calories, okay? But it's just one of those things that your body's going to track it for you. If you're not losing weight, then obviously your calories are too high.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't know if people's appetites are so suppressed that they're not even going to hit their maintenance calories.
Well, you're right. Well, that's what I'm saying. They don't have to track their calories when they're on there. Most people don't because they just can't eat them.
Yeah.
Now, I would like them to.
Protein intake, though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I mean, well, that's one thing they do. So that's why I'm saying I'm making it real easy for you. Track your protein intake. 1 gram per pound of lean body mass daily. Spread it out. Track that and let the rest of it work. But make sure that you're getting your micronutrients too.
Yeah. So what is that supplement protocol to make sure you get your micronutrients and whatnot?
Well, that's what I just said. A complete multi in your protein powder to make sure you hit the number. I'm not saying
a multivitamin, a good complete multi will cover your ass as far as
not as well as adding your antioxidants.
So can you take us down a list of what?
It's identical to what I would take us down if you guys listen to our micronutrient webinar the one I do for the audiences of mine, but the one that we did on your show. I talked about, okay, you got your complete, number 1, your complete multi that's got the 20 known underconsumed at the right numbers, which is also high in vitamin D, okay, because that's in there. Number 2, if you're not getting 1,200 milligrams of calcium from your diet, which you will probably not get while you're on this, take a calcium supplement. And didn't you just say take a multivitamin? Wouldn't that have calcium in it? No, because it wouldn't fit in there if you need it. The multivitamin would be this big, so it's got to be always a separate supplement. And there's a few people that don't need it. And there's a window there. So you don't want too much. So calcium, if you're not getting 1,200 milligrams, do the math, and that's easy because it's on all the labels. That's right there with it. And then omega-3s. If you're not eating 4 servings of fish a week, which you're not, okay? You're not going to be able to anyway. You take an omega-3. Those are automatic staples, boom, right there. And you're 1 gram per pound. Listen, if you can get it from your food, God bless you.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's just not going to happen. You can't even afford it. Next thing on the list are your non-vitamin antioxidants. Zeaxanthin, lutein, lycopene. You got astaxanthin also. And you've got alpha-lipoic acid, CoQ10. These things, as we get older, and especially losing weight, you're not getting nearly enough of these things if you're not eating fruits and vegetables constantly. So the average person's not even getting it, but let alone you. Now you're really screwed on this. So that would be the next micronutrient supplementation. I just try to throw it all in one. You know what I mean? As far as that goes.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, right.
They need to hear
that's
this.
It. Yeah, exactly. So that's basically, that's the beginning of it all. And then, probiotics. I mean, because, and probiotics, they're not going to do you any good if you don't have some sort of, decent lifestyle, like you're active. Otherwise, you're actually, I read a great study the other day about prebiotics and probiotics. You end up with feeding the wrong bacteria because you're just sitting around and you're popping a probiotic and you're not exercising and you're not moving around, you're living and you're eating shitty food. You're not doing anything. In fact, you might even be feeding your bad bugs in your gut. So make sure that you got some sort of activity going on and your diet somewhat, it's going to be clean when you're on that. It's fairly clean. It's just that you're not getting enough of anything. Yeah. So that would be it. Those are the kind of things that you want to do on a regular. That's how you would actually supplement this. Cover all your bases, just like that.
So there you got the diet, the supplementation.
Yeah.
let's get into the exercise proponent of this. And what are you looking to do to stave off muscle loss during GLP-1s through exercise?
Number one, strength training. I mean, you've got to do resistance training. You can't, I mean, listen, I love Pilates. I love yoga. As you know, your mom does, Pilates 3 times a week, strength training 3 times a week, and so a combination is great. So I'm not knocking any exercise program. I want to make sure everybody knows that. Get moving, do anything, whatever turns you on. But you really need to do resistance training at least 2 days a week, whole body each day. Split them up like that because that tells the nutrition, that limited nutrition, where to go. So it's going to keep the muscle alive. If you keep the muscle alive, guess what else you keep alive? You keep your bones alive because the bones lose strength. They lose density. They lose all the stuff when they're not moving, locomotion, enough muscle and weight and all this. They just start losing all that. So you want to make sure that you're getting all of those things to be able to, your strength training, to be able to tell the nutrition where to go. Go to the muscles, right, and maintain the muscles so you're not just losing, and your weight now isn't going down twice as fast. Because don't forget, if you're losing muscle and fat, it's going down twice as fast. Yeah. Of course, if that now your bones are just getting weaker, not to mention your organs are getting smaller and not functioning as well. So so you just want to, strength training tells it to where to go, and it's all about maintaining muscle. Yeah. So that's why you've got to do some sort of resistance training, minimum 2 days a week. I'd love to see you do it 3 or 4 days a week, right? But at minimum of 2 days a week.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, the whole message of this episode, right, is just finding a way. In a nutshell, it's finding a way to keep your lean body mass, right?
Correct.
Like that,
in a nutshell.
Yeah.
You're 100% right, Zane. It's not about weight. It's not about any BMI, any of this.
Because you're going to lose the weight most likely.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
Hopefully it's not from the muscle.
Right. You want to maintain the lean body mass. That's what this is all about. Yeah. Always. All the way to the end of days, you want to maintain your lean body mass the best you can.
Right. And like you said about weight cycling, like God forbid you get off and you gain your weight back, at least
which you will.
At least you hopefully held on to as much. Or do you ever see anybody build muscle while taking these GLP-1s?
Have I ever seen anybody build muscle while taking the GLP-1s? Yes. I would tell you, I can name a couple people right now. These are these people that probably didn't need it in the first place. They're celebrities. Right. Ready for movies. We got them ready for a body shot. They got to look great. So they'll use that to cut their appetite while they're exercising. And the thing about them, I never worry about because they always supplement.
Yeah.
They take their supplements diligently. Anybody who works with me takes them perfectly, and they're able to have a youthful body for a long, long time. That's what it comes down to because they're filling their gaps with calorically efficient nutrition. And that's what it comes down to. So, I don't worry about those people at all. Yeah, so they can. Certainly you can build muscle while you're on it.
Well, I was just saying, God forbid.
The average person won't.
Yeah, I was saying, God forbid you, gain your weight back. Hopefully you didn't lose all your muscle in the process, right? Which is the weight cycling, right? Yeah. And you end up with, what is it, sarcopenia?
Obesity. Yeah.
So, rapid fire round here. Do you actually lose fat, or is it mostly water and muscle loss?
It's pretty much even, depending on how big your deficit is.
Can someone take these and not exercise or change their diet and still lose weight?
Oh, they'll lose even more weight. Say it again? Wait.
Can someone take these GLP-1s and not exercise or change their diet and still lose weight?
Absolutely. They're going to lose more weight if they don't exercise and if they don't change their diet because the drugs are going to change their diet.
Or the amount, right?
They're going to lose muscle and fat together, and it's going to go faster.
Are the results permanent, or do people usually regain the weight after stopping?
Almost everyone regains the weight after stopping.
Are there any red flags that make someone not a good candidate for these drugs?
Well, that's almost a medical, depending on who the person is.
Let's say, is there any characteristics of somebody that's a red flag? Not any sort of pre-medical condition, we'll say.
Oh, okay.
When you look at someone, that's probably a bad choice for you? Just off the eye.
Well, I think anyone that's trying to use this as their first thing that they do to lose weight, or they're just doing it because they want to look like a movie star and they're already in pretty good shape, that just is not acceptable.
Are you concerned about younger people, especially those who aren't obese, using the medications?
Anyone not obese using the medication doesn't make a whole lot of sense because there's so many other things that you would want to do first before you resorted to the medication.
Does this class of drug impact hormones, fertility, or mental health?
Probably only in a more positive way. We know that if you lose body fat, you are more fertile. If you lose body fat in men, your testosterone goes higher. So you actually probably have a better sperm count. So it's probably only positive. And mental health, for most people, when they lose weight, they actually improves their mental health. There's been some chatter about suicides, all that, but it's not there. I mean, we've looked at a whole bunch of data on that. It's not. We're good.
Some say these drugs are a shortcut or cheating. How do you respond to that?
Well, let's put it this way. They are life-saving, number one, for so many people, without a doubt. But they're a shortcut for others. And unfortunately, some of the celebrities I work with, it's a shortcut for them to do stuff. Yeah, but cheating it on, what's cheating mean? I don't know that, but you have to give me an example of something. But the bottom line is,
like they're just taking the easy route.
Oh, for sure, that's a shortcut, without a doubt. That would be. I mean, that's like you're a body. You want to be a bodybuilder, and you start working out day one, and you're taking steroids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like really, really dumb.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there's no reason to take these drugs unless you really have either you're diabetic or there's a medical condition, or you are overweight and you have really tried and failed doing anything else and nothing's working for you. Yeah.
How do you feel about influencers promoting these medications without medical context?
Well, first of all, influencers should never promote any prescription medications. I mean, that's just terrible. But I feel the same way about these commercials on TV. They're singing the song about Wegovy. I just want to punch the TV in. I mean, they're pushing the drugs. These drug companies are pushing it. There's no question. They're going to get carried away with it, just like the opioids. It's going to happen because they work, number one. And number two, it is really something that nothing else is ever. This is a game changer for obesity and weight control, but in the right context. So yeah, I mean, no influencer should even be thinking about trying to promote this stuff unless they're promoting it for all the right reasons, not unlike what we're doing right now.
That sort of answers the question of, do you think Big Pharma is pushing these too hard?
Well, let me tell you something right now about that. Guess what? Eli Lilly just got a lawsuit slammed on them because they're bribing doctors to sell the drug to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the allegedly. I don't want to say they did. I don't know. All I know is that I know how Big Pharma works. Yeah. And of course, just like the opioid crisis, I mean, this is a little different than that because the addiction, I mean, again, it's a little bit different when it comes to your health and everything else, but it's still there. They are trying to get them to push it, and they're trying to get, they want an indication for everything. So it started out as diabetic. Now we got weight control. Now they're doing it for cardiovascular. Now they might even get it for dementia. They're going to get it for everything because it's all from losing weight. All better things happen to you. So it indirectly affects the other things. Anyway, yeah, so the first lawsuits have already come. They're already happening right now. I forget who filed the suit against Eli Lilly, though, for trying to bribe doctors and practitioners to prescribe the drugs. That's what they allegedly said.
What should someone ask their doctor before starting one of these drugs?
Well, okay, you want to know, is there anything else that I should know when I use these drugs? In other words, what I would say right off the bat is this going to change anything? The doctor, at that point, again, if a doctor is going to prescribe the drug to you, it's because there should be an indication. You're obese and you've already tried and failed diet and exercise a few times. That's really the basic protocol, except for the American College of Cardiovascular. Says, I forget what it is. They just said, no longer do you have to, diet and exercise have to be first. You can prescribe the drug first. Yeah. And I get why they said that. That's a whole nother conversation. But so bottom line is, if the doctor's giving it to them, is giving it to them for a reason, they need to tell you, you cannot take this drug without your nutrition companion, which would be your protein, your micronutrient supplementation, to make sure that at some point, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we can get you off the drug. Because I don't know how long your insurance will cover it. I don't know how long you can afford it. And I would love to have you get off it and live a normal life without having to shoot yourself up once a week. That's what they should do.
Yeah. All right. And then how do you coach patients or clients to keep the weight off after stopping?
Well, that's the whole thing. It's all from there on out, it's lifestyle. So you've just got to say, hey, listen, just get your protein up, make yourself feel good, fill in your micronutrients. You had all that. I did that while you were on the drug, so hopefully we can now exit off that. And that's all we do. And just keep it going and get this motivation. Find something. Hey, your weight's down. You look fantastic. Stay there. Take a picture of yourself and remind yourself of that, and if your belt slips a little bit, make sure you cut back your calories, you have the control now. For me, it's about getting everyone addicted to exercise. I can't get them addicted to exercise by just telling them how to exercise. If they don't do the nutrition, they're not going to feel good about exercising and they're not going to recover. Yeah. So it's nutrition along with your exercise. That's how you get that's your best chance of getting someone addicted. So they have an easy off ramp coming up. Well, so they might have an easy off ramp. Yeah. Can't guarantee it.
And then can these drugs be used responsibly in performance contexts like bodybuilding or cutting?
Well, for bodybuilders, they can use anything. because many of them do. I'm not talking about natural bodybuilding, but you get the higher level. They'll use everything. Back in my day, and when I was one of the top guys, we used everything. Cut our appetite, didn't matter.
Whatever it takes to win.
So we would, exactly, whatever it is. So there's no responsible thing there. It's just whatever it takes to win. Yeah. That's what it was. And plus, that was just part of the sport then. Now it's just gotten out of control.
Pushing the envelope with as much drugs as you can.
So that's kind of the wrong group to ask that.
All right, we'll wrap it up with these two here. Where do you think the future of medical weight loss is headed, and are we at a turning point with these GLP-1 drugs?
100%. We are definitely at a turning point. It's the very first time that there has been a solution. I call it almost the Alexander Fleming moment. Alexander Fleming, when he accidentally discovered penicillin in the 30s, it changed life. We went from the average life of a human being 47 to 65 in one day, because it wiped out, the infections that would happen on babies and all these other different things. Penicillin was, of course, the change. And Western medicine just kind of blew up. We've just gone too far. Now we prescribe drugs for everything because of that. This is the same thing. This is a watershed event. And listen, I dislike Big Pharma and their tactics, right? And I've never had to take any medication in my life for anything other than painkillers after a surgery from athletic endeavors that I've spent my life doing. But that's it. So I'm anti, because you can prevent that by doing all the right things nutritionally. That's what it comes down to. But these things are, because no one's been able to stop this growth of obesity and overweight since it took off in the 60s. This is the first thing that has that opportunity. And unfortunately, 70% of developed nations' populations are candidates for this because they're overweight. And nothing's working. It's not getting any better. So I think this is a game changer. This is a real important moment in life, but if we don't make peace with it from a nutrition standpoint, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So we've got to figure out how to marry the two. This will be the first time in history the Big Pharma and the nutrition world, so sort of the anti-Big Pharma, but not, we get it, come together and make peace and say, we got this. But that's the way it has to work.
All right. And then if someone listening is considering starting one of these drugs, what would be your one piece of honest advice?
Oh, without a doubt, fill your gaps. Don't allow anything else. You've got to strength train one way or another. I don't care if you just do it with books or something in your house, squat to a chair. I don't care. You've got to strength train, and you've got to fill all the gaps that drug is going to cause. It's going to cause massive nutrition gaps. And those nutrition gaps are going to torture your infrastructure. Your bones, your muscles, everything that holds you up, all of it is going to just start shrinking and get worse and worse and worse. And then you're really doubly screwed because you're not going to stay on the drug forever unless you can afford it. And then you're going to end up with, you gain the weight back and it's going to be mostly fat, all that muscle you lost. Not to mention, even if you're on the drug forever, all the muscle you lost. You're going to have a miserable, aging life. So you make sure when you go on this drug that you are taking your nutrition solution along with it. And if your doctor doesn't give it to you that way, you should find another medical professional that is qualified. Because in my opinion, that's quackery. Give yourself a drug and not give them the other side of the equation that will make that drug work that much better.
Yeah.
There you go.
That was a pretty good send-off if you want to use that as a send, unless you got something you want to say to wrap us up here.
That's it right there. Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that
Love
took it home. You good?
I think so. I'm good.
That's
I think
good
we
with
nailed
the
it.
send off.
Got it
We're
all.
good. That's
Absolutely.
our GLP episode.
Yeah.
Okay, you got everything you need to know.
Yep.
And to kind of attack this and combat any of the negative pitfalls that come with it, and have a successful weight loss journey.
Yep.
So, yeah. With that being said, I'm not going to tell you just to take your multivitamin this time. You got to eat your protein too. So,
That's right.
And strength train. All right, that's going to do it for the episode.
Yep.
Bye.